أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم آمين. Welcome to another episode of The Criterion, and in our last episode we looked at some couple of verses where Allah says ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا, did we not make the earth as a carpet, والجبال أوتادا, and mountains as stake, وخلقناكم أزواجا, and we created you in pairs. وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا, and we made your sleep as a means of rest. وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا, we made your night as a tranquil residence. وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا, and we made your day as a means of livelihood. So that was where we stopped in the last episode, and that last episode was really talking about the various signs that Allah has put in place, which would serve as an evidence for the coming of the hereafter. Remember, in the first video about Surah An-Naba, we talked about how the disbelievers were having, this dispute of whether the day of judgment was going to come to pass or not. Then Allah goes on to explain His signs, to mention some of the signs that He created, which will serve as an evidence for us that the day of judgment is something that is certain and it will definitely come to pass. But Allah is not done with the number of signs and miracles. He goes on to mention some other miracles too. For example, Allah says, وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا. I need you to understand this ayah. It's a lot. It's a very short verse. It's short, but it carries a lot of weight. For example, God says, وَبَنَيْنَا. Let's take it one after the other. When God says وَبَنَيْنَا, and we constructed, the word bana is used to refer to like when a bricklayer is laying bricks together. When you're constructing a house and you are laying bricks and cementing them on one another. Okay, so that is how the word bana is used. And God uses this word to describe how He made the heavens. He says, وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ. And then we constructed above you. And exactly what is above us? Well, what is above us is the heavens. All right. So, but the word heaven does not really come in this verse. It's not really mentioned explicitly, but we understand from when He says فَوْقَكُمْ, that is above you, Sab'an Shidada, seven strong heavens. Now, what are the seven strong heavens, by the way? Can we identify them? Can we say, oh, the atmosphere above us is the first heaven, and space is probably the second heaven? Well, according to the books of Tafsir, there is no precise description as to what heaven is which. Okay, we can't say, oh, the atmosphere above us is the first heaven, and we cannot say the space is the second heaven. As a matter of fact, we don't know where the first heavens, starts or ends. We just know that God says there are seven heavens. Okay, if we say what is above us is the first heaven, then do we know where it ends? And if it ends somewhere, then where does the second heaven start? But all of that is not really the point. Okay, because without going too far and looking for the second or the third heaven, let's look at what is above us first. Okay, God says, "وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا." Let's look at the atmosphere and outer space. And mind you, there are a lot of things out in space. Okay, things that are much more greater than us. Okay, and in fact, their creation are so massive. Let's start with the planets. Okay, we have about 8 planets that's going around the sun, orbiting the sun, and mind you, some of these planets are way bigger than Earth itself. Okay, so it means they are massive in creation than Earth itself. So when God says, وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا, that He created above you seven heavens, meaning that the heavens are far greater, are far complex. They're vast. It's talking about the loftiness of the heavens, the precision of the heavens. He's also talking about the perfection of the heavens. I mean, look at how everything is so organized out there in space. And mind you, there's so many things in space. Just to mention a few. First, we have stars. Okay, we have stars. Then we have satellites like the moon. The moon is our satellite, by the way. Then we have comets. Then we have nebulae. Then there's so many other heavenly bodies that are found in the heavens, by the way. So then all of these creations is really what Allah is part of what Allah is saying, that وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا, meaning that we've built above you seven strong. Okay, and and besides all of this that I'm saying, all the stars and earth and planets and the sun itself were all found in one galaxy, and that is the Milky Way galaxy. If you've not heard of it before, our galaxy is called the Milky Way, and mind you, there are billions and trillions of galaxies out there. So imagine how vast and wide space is, and yet we don't even know if that is just all the first heaven. Okay, well, yeah, Allah Akbar Kabir. That's a massive thing. So I need you to take your time and go to the web, search for what is in the galaxies, search for what's in space, and you will be mind blown, okay, to see the numerous powerful things that are out there. And God even mentions in another verse in next chapter after this, which is Surah An-Nazi'at. God says, "Antum ashaddu khalqan min sama banaha." Are you the most difficult of the creation? That is, are you the most complex creation that He created? I mean, sama banaha, all the heavens that He constructed. So God is trying to tell us that your creation is a piece of cake to God. And so if you're having doubt that how can He, fix your bones back and put your blood and everything and your brain, and you're kind of confused, and how is He going to do that after we've become dust? Well, sorry to sorry to bust your bubble. You are a very simple creation when it comes to comparing other creations, by the way. So it's a piece of cake for Allah to put you back, bones to bones, in your skin and everything. That takes Him nothing. So this is an evidence that if you think that you're not going to be brought back to life, then you're wrong. He has created something more complex than you, and those are the heavens. وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا. And then God says, وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا. And then we made a burning lamp. Now, according to the books of this, so this is referring to the sun, okay, our sun. So, وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا, siraj means a lamp. وَهَّاجًا means something that is blazing, it's burning, it's bursting, okay? So that's meaning of wahaja. And if you look at some scientific facts about the sun, mind you, the sun is made up of mostly gases, hydrogen and helium, and there's something we call nuclear fusion that is happening in the sun. And how does this happen? It's because the sun at its core is very hot, about more than 1,000,000 degrees Celsius. So, as this heat is blowing up, it's constantly bombarding hydrogen atoms together, and that in turn becomes helium. I know I'm talking a lot of science here. I'm sorry, I studied chemistry, but I just want you to appreciate what God is saying. Okay, He said, so when these hydrogen are bursting into one another, they become helium, and that creates nuclear fusion. And if you know what nuclear fusion is, if you have an idea, I would ask you to look it up, because it's a lot of energy that comes from nuclear fusion, and this is happening consistently. It has been happening since the beginning of time. It's still happening right now. Like it's like you're having a lot of atomic bombs in the sun, by the way. So, and the sun is very big and also very far away. You should check out the distance between the earth and the sun. It's very far away, and and yet we still feel the impact of the heat. I mean, look, we now have climate change. A lot of places are undergoing high temperature rises, there's a lot of increase in temperature in some places. Some people can't even go out. I mean, imagine recording a temperature of 41 degrees Celsius, and yet the sun is thousands of kilometers away from us. But that's just little, okay? Because the sun itself is blazing hot. And God says, وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا. So imagine God creating a lamp that blows for so many years. I mean, it's still alive. What exactly is fueling that lamp? We don't see anybody coming and pouring fuel inside the lamp. It's a self-sufficient lamp. And yet, I don't know what to say. That's a miracle from Allah. Allah says, وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَاجًا. And then God moves on, apart from mentioning the heavens and then talking about the sun. It's like He's coming from a very great place, then goes into something less greater. Now He comes to our world again. It says, وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً سَجَّاجًا. He said, and then He sends from the rain clouds, okay? He makes the rain clouds send down rain, okay? Let me check that ayah properly so I don't say nonsense, by the way. وأنزلنا من المعصرات, and we have sent down from the معصرات ماء سجاجا. Okay, He sends down the rain. That's what basically God is telling you, that He sends down the rain from the rain clouds. I need you to appreciate some things from this verse first. God says معصرات, which means rain clouds. If you look at the meaning of the word معصرات, if you're familiar with some Arabic, you know that word comes from asala, which means to compress or to be strained. So how does that relate to rain clouds? Well, because obviously rain clouds are carrying rain. Okay, they're holding water, and it's like when it's getting to a point where it's about to burst. Okay, so that's why it's called mursalat. But it's just in time to start releasing the water out of itself. So وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُرْسَلَاتِ مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا. And then God said He sends down rain, and the sajjaj means heavy downpour. Okay, that is like water just constantly pouring and falling. That is sajjaj. So God said, وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً سَجَّاجًا. And now there's something unique I would love to really share with you that I found, and this is in Quran chapter 30, verse 48. There's a particular verse that specifically explains water cycle. Let me put it that way. Okay. This verse basically explains water cycle. And I'm mind blown. I mean, you should be mind blown too. And this is how the ayah goes. God says, Allah الذي يرسل الرياح فتصير سحابا فيبسطه في السماء كيف يشاء ويجعله كسفا فترى الودق يخرج من خلاله. Now, the translation says, Allah is He who sends the winds so that they raise clouds. I'm going to explain. Just stay with me on this one. And spread them along the sky as He wills, and then breaks them into fragments until you see raindrops come forth from their mists, meaning from its mists. So, what is God basically saying? If you're familiar with some biology, if you did biology in school, you're going to be familiar with the concept of water cycle. That is how water is being transformed from one form to another in the environment. Okay. So God says it is He who sends the wind. Okay. Winds, you know what winds are. So they raise clouds. Clouds don't come from the ground, right? So what exactly is going up? We don't see clouds floating around us, right? So, but when you look at water cycle, it's understood that the sun burns up the water on earth, okay, and that water turns into water vapor. Can you see? I mean, that's the clouds God is talking about here. So he said, from here he raised the clouds. So as the wind carries the water vapor to where? To the atmosphere, it condenses. This is what it's like right now. It condenses, and then what? God said he spreads them along the sky. Clouds do spread, and winds do carry clouds along the sky, and then breaks them into fragments. So, in essence, when the clouds are full with water, then what happens? It breaks. That means it precipitates. It starts to release water. In essence, so this is a marvelous ayah, by the way, because it explains water cycle in a very short form. Okay, and this is a reference to the ayah that was explained. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا, that He sends from raining clouds water that falls heavily. Okay, now the next verse God goes on and says, لِنُخْرِجَ بِهِ حَبًّا وَنَبَاتًا. Imagine 1,400 years ago, and you're hearing all of these verses. It won't really make sense, but because of science, now we're able to make some sense out of what God is saying. So God says, "Linukhrija bihi habban wa nabata," that this water that He then sends down to you is being what He's used to produce therewith corn and vegetation and gardens. Oh, by the way, I haven't got to that ayah yet. Linukhrija bihi hab, to bring out forth from the water that He sends down to the ground. Habban means grains, let's put it that way, grains and seeds. So you have your wheat, you have your corn, you have your sorghum. I don't know what, I forget what that word is called, but basically all of your grains. And then nabat means vegetation. Okay, God said He uses this water to bring forth food. In essence, that what is God telling you? That He didn't just send you pure water to drink and spend use with your livelihood, but He also sent down, using that water, He brought out food. Now, what does this teaches us? Actually, this also reminds us of the day of judgment. Just like the way He sends rain to resurrect plants from a dead land, He can also do the same to you. Okay, an earth that is not fertile, has nothing on it, He could resurrect you from that same ground. He brought out life from the earth using water. So He could do the same to you. Okay, so He says, so that is nukhrija bi habban wa nabata, and God says, wa jannatin alfafa, and that is He also makes gardens. Okay, out of this development of crops and produce, He also gives you gardens. Okay, that is not just one plant, by the way, it's a lot of them. Alfaf means abundance. So you have varieties of crops, varieties of fruits and foods, and with respect to even the location, you have some fruits growing in some places and not growing in others. So this is alfaf. It's abundant, it's a lot, and it's everywhere all around us. So I pray with the very few I've said, that Allah rewards both you and I for this act of ibadah, because you're watching, it's an act of ibadah. I'm speaking is also an act of ibadah. So I pray that Allah rewards both you and I for this act of ibadah. And subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayh. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamu ala al-mursalin. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.